Maddy, all about growing up from middle school to freshman year, the growth we go through in such a short period of time, how crucial these years really are. With us, we have Gracie, Evan, and Katie. This episode is all about our feelings about middle school, how we felt about transitioning into high school, also all the differences between the two. Later in the episode, I'll be asking them some questions about their perspective and journey on the topic. So essentially, what is y'all's main feelings about middle school? Like looking back on it, how do you feel?
Sorry. Me personally, I think, honestly, middle school was worse than high school so far. Only because everyone's like, woo, not as much structure as elementary school. So they think they can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. I think the problem is with middle school is like you're in a new environment that's like new people, so you're surrounded by even worse and like a lot of bad influences.
Yeah.
Like, what about
I
you?
think it's more of a thing where it's like the people that you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
The difference from 6th to 8th grade was pretty crucial.
Yes.
In 6th grade,
Yeah.
I think everybody can say that they, like looking back, they were kind of embarrassing. But like 8th grade was probably like the best year of middle school. So
Exactly.
You know, 6th grade was one of my worst years of middle school because like every single elementary school is combined into one
Yes.
grade. So everybody is now just together and it's awful.
It's horrible.
Exactly, and I think the problem is you think you're grown because adults will be like, you're getting older.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like,
People really take that to heart.
yes, but like, okay, throughout like the 3 years, or either for each year, what would be your favorite teacher, and like, what did they teach?
I got this. Okay. 7th, 8th grade. That was 8th grade.
Bro, actually.
Miss Pearsall. From 6th grade, it would probably be Mr. Green.
Oh, I love
Mhm.
Mr.
Yeah.
Green.
Me
He's
too.
not there anymore.
I know.
Definitely from middle school, just only. It's definitely been a tie. I'm gonna have to say Mr. Green. He was like a huge influence for me with like music and stuff. You know, I probably wouldn't be as cool as I am today without him. And his class was just great. You know, he's really nice.
Okay, so what do the main differences do you think these two like schools have, like middle school and high school?
I definitely think that I might be like very biased on this one, but the teachers are like very nice or like nicer in the high school. And in the middle school, I felt like it was just like they wanted you to act like adults, but they treated you like kids.
Yeah.
I feel like in the middle school, they were a lot more like, they're still like children, so we still have to structure them a lot more and like press them to do their work. But now in high school, I've realized that a lot more teachers are just going to be like, you can do your work or you can't. I'm not going to pressure you to do anything, but if you don't do your work, it's going to reflect.
Yeah.
There's a lot more responsibility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more relying on us.
Yeah, mostly because they're trying to get us ready for like college and everything. So it's like we can't help you do whatever you need to do. Like you're gonna figure out how to do it by yourself, and you're gonna have to learn the consequences if you don't.
I think the main difference, at least with the middle school, is like the middle school tries to like be really strict and act like they're gonna deal with things, and then they just don't deal with stuff at all.
Maybe we're going too in depth, but I think that like they worry more about like what's on the surface. Like they care if a kid's using a pass, not if they're getting bullied.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Moving on to a more personal note, you guys are here to share your journey and opinions on middle school and high school. So, you said there was the teachers.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think the differences are within the teachers?
Well, I think Evan kind of like talked about it a little bit, but you know, your assignments or your responsibility. A lot of my teachers, depends what class you're in, but they're not gonna like pull up all your missing assignments. But I do like the responsibility that comes with being a freshman. You know?
So, when it comes to the freshmen, like high schoolers, do you think they do a good job at like transitioning in between the two? Like transitioning from like a smaller school with, I guess, maybe not as many responsibilities as the middle school. Do you think they do it well, like transitioning into you like having more responsibilities, and how so?
I Okay, so I definitely think there's two sides of the spectrum. There's going to be kids that were already excelling in middle school, so they're going to be used to like the heavy workload or whatever. But then there's the other half that relied on teachers telling them what to do, or just like got by barely doing anything. And now that it's mostly self-structured, they don't know what to do.
Yeah. Do you think advisory is like a good thing to have?
That's a
Advisory
good thing
was
to
very
mention.
helpful.
Yeah, it depends what teacher you have, I'm definitely gonna be honest. But I think, you know, for freshmen, it's definitely a good idea. 'Cause, like, especially at the beginning of the year, because you need to know where your classes are, you need to know how your grades work, how your GPA works.
Do you think, like, maybe not the teachers per se, but everyone in the high school
The
did it?
guidance counselors are really good at that.
Yeah, I would say so.
My
What's your
guidance
question?
counselor, Miss Freeman, has like told me a lot about it. Like she told me that I'm like super close to passing a lot of my classes.
Yeah.
I just need to like get there.
Oh, Miss Pusateri is very nice.
Yeah, I do really like her.
Do you think the guidance counselors in particular are better than them?
Yes.
Yes.
I can't say because I hadn't like talked to them much, you know, other than playing myself.
Yeah.
I guess the preparation. Do you think middle school did a good way of preparing you for high school? Or did it kind of just lead you to failure?
Well,
They a lot of the time just told us how it was gonna be, but they never really actually like made us do anything for preparation.
toward the end of the year, but that was
Yeah.
pretty
Do you
rushed.
think
It was really rushed.
It was
for
kind
my
of just
class.
like walking around, but though the student mentors didn't really help.
Some of the mentors had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah.
But you know, that's of course not their fault. It was their first time.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think a tour does help. You know, not like standing for 10 minutes at a class explaining what it is, but
8th grade helped you prepare for high school,
yeah.
like the teachers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How so?
Two choices you had to take high school classes. I think that definitely got you ready somewhat for their structure. I also think scheduling in general, like getting used to having a set amount of classes, a set amount of time every day helped for middle school or high school too.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I like having like a lot of periods in the day.
Why is that?
It gives me more like a basic schedule. At least for me, I get kind of bored and I get kind of tired of it because I like to do different things. You know, I'm very spontaneous, I guess.
You know, like I have ADHD and sitting in like a fifth grade class,
Yeah.
just sitting there and then changing from one subject to another, my brain would not switch as fast. But walking to that class, I'm like, yeah, I have to do this class now. So I'm like mentally preparing myself for it. But in elementary school, they'd just be like, okay, now we're going to put our Lang and Lit books away and we're going to get out our math books. And I'd be like, okay, we're doing this now, I guess.
Yeah.
So definitely walking from class to class and having 9 periods a day is a lot better.
Yeah.
Do you think transitioning from elementary school to middle school is harder or easier than going from middle school to high school?
I think transitioning from elementary to middle school was harder
Yeah,
just because
me
of
too.
like what Evan said. You had two, 3 set rooms you were in every single day, and you weren't used to having as much freedom as you did. Not saying you had a bunch of freedom in middle school,
Yeah.
but it was more than elementary school.
I think it was definitely harder elementary to middle school, only because like I had like a big group of friends in elementary school.
Yeah.
You know, we all played together, and then we were like, wait, like what if we get separated when we moved to the middle school? And you know, eventually like stuff happens, people grow, but like I wouldn't have met you guys.
Yeah. Do you think middle school changed a lot of people for the better or worse?
It changed some people for the worse and some people for the better. I guess it's just like basically how you acted and who you hung around in middle school.
How you took your amount of freedom and your responsibility, how you treated it, did kind of shape who's
I think
doing what
some
now.
people are still processing, but yeah.
So do you guys think, for your guys personally, do you think you made a significant change from middle school, like throughout those 3 years from now?
I would hope so.
Significant. I think.
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you, like,
me too.
physically or mentally? Like,
Both.
Definitely mentally. I've grown up a lot since 6th grade to now.
I've definitely
Me too.
matured a lot.
how so?
Well, I mean, like, obviously part of life is maturing,
Yeah.
but I feel like during middle school is mainly when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the switch from 6th grade to 7th grade where we had recess and then recess was
Oh,
just taken
yeah.
away from us.
Yeah.
Or was that in 8th grade?
Eighth.
Okay, so the
Eighth.
switch from 7th to 8th grade when we had recess and then we just lost recess and we would just have to go into a
Sorry.
study hall.
Yeah.
I feel like they should have weaned it out a lot more
Mm-hmm.
and like taken away our recess in the middle of 7th grade. So yeah.
I don't know. I kind of think it makes sense because it's like we're obviously not going outside in high school, but I did like the breath of fresh air in between
Yeah.
classes. That was nice.
It was a nice reset.
Well, I guess that's why they have open campus for seniors, so they
Mhm.
can take a break, get outside.
Do you think having that break in middle school helped you a lot?
Yes.
Yeah.
How so?
I would get overstimulated a lot trying to just like sit there and do my work. So then just having a free period to just do whatever I wanted.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you think like middle school is a very significant and important time period in somebody's life?
I definitely think it'll show growth for better or for worse in anybody just because of how you have to adapt to it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think, like what Gracie said, people need time to adjust, and like also that's
Yeah.
like such a strange period of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through so much. You're hitting like weird spots in your
Mhm.
life. You might have problems with friends.
Yeah, just lessons that you've learned.
Do your work because if you do not get used to doing your work in middle school, you are not going to be able to handle the workload you get now, especially if you're taking classes that are a grade or two above your
Mhm.
level.
Especially this, because I don't know if this is just me, but the grading gets more intense.
It does.
Like,
They're more picky.
yeah.
One thing I feel like is just like know who you're hanging out with, get to know their personalities, and
Yeah.
if you start to feel like you're in a toxic relationship, whether it's like an actual partner relationship or just a friendship,
Don't be afraid to leave.
get to know who they are, and if you feel like you should not be in this situation, get out of that situation.
Like, it's gonna suck to leave it, but it's gonna suck more if you stay there and let them
Yeah.
change who you are. And it's honestly not as bad as you think. People,
Yes,
you've known,
yes.
if things need to change, they'll change. If it happens naturally, or if you just decide they're not a good fit for me, end it.
Yeah, you're not just stuck in one bubble for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You and your friends, or you and your friend are going through like a hardship or something, I wouldn't stay mad at them and I wouldn't hold a grudge. It obviously depends on like what happened, but I would try to talk it out with them first and see what's the problem. If they acknowledge it, that's great. But if they don't and they keep, using the same behavior, I would try to distance yourself.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you've faced in middle school that you've conquered within the past year, or isn't something that you struggle with anymore?
Drama.
Yeah, I feel like I really haven't gotten into a lot of drama this year, but throughout my entire middle school, there was so much drama. And
Oh,
now I'm out of
yeah.
that friend group, so that I really haven't gotten any drama.
I feel like a big part of it is as you get older, you'll just learn to tell somebody if something they did you don't like. So it's
Yeah.
not like, oh, so-and-so did this, but they're going to tell everyone else except you. While that does still happen, more people are learning how to just get it off their chest instead of creating a huge issue.
That's one thing, too, about the switch from middle school to high school is, like, you would be in the middle school, and every single week, a fight would just break out in the hallways.
Yeah.
And now I
Yeah.
can just walk through the halls peacefully without having to be late to class
Well,
because
there's
of a
still
fight
some
in the hallway.
fights.
It's, yeah.
Well, yeah, there is still some, but there's not as many.
It's so much quieter in the hallways, too.
Yeah.
Yes. Out of middle school and your freshman year, what grade has been your favorite, and why is it your favorite?
I'm gonna have to say 8th grade.
Yeah.
Eighth grade was pretty awesome. I'm not saying this year isn't pretty great too, but eighth grade was so exciting to be like, we're going to be in a new spot next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're gonna get to finally figure out what we want to do with our lives.
I still haven't figured that out.
No, eighth grade was really fun though. Most of the teachers were pretty good.
I kind of just expanded out of my shell in 8th grade and got into a different friend group and like locked in that friend group and now I'm just a better person overall, I think.
I'd like to say the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with what you said actually, like a lot. I think, I don't really know what I think. Would you want to redo middle school?
I would like to, just because of how I've left things with some people. Like, if I had the maturity and the knowledge that I had now and I was able to redo it, I'd definitely change some of the things I did.
I don't think I would want to do middle school over again because it's just a memory from the past that should just be kept the way it is. That things have happened in middle school. I may not like the way they happened, but they're locked in now, so I can't change them.
Yeah.
And if I change them, then they could be weird now. So I don't think I would want to change those.
Would you want to redo a grade again, just to relive the experiences and memories?
No.
No, I don't think I would want to because, as I said, that's just now, like, I wouldn't even want to do any grades in elementary because those are just memories from the past that are just done with.
I feel like a big part of it too is every grade seemed to have its big like problem that would happen once a year.
Gosh,
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to, like, if I was able to redo everything except that, yes, but I wouldn't want to go through just because of that huge like part of it.
Yeah.
Deep here, but for some for some grades, I had like this horrible like mentality, at least for me. And you know, like I've been really good recently, but like for some grades it was like really worse and stuff was bad with friends, so I wouldn't like go with that.
Yeah, I understand that. Throughout the 4 years, meaning from 6th grade to now, what has been your least favorite grade?
7th.
What's
yeah,
that?
7th.
Heavy on 7th. Okay, so you're in this weird spot where you're not adapting to everything like you were in 6th grade, but you're not as mature as you were in 8th grade and you're not as used to everything. So you're at this weird part of being comfortable, but being too comfortable and overconfident, and you're gonna end up screwing something up.
I'm going to say 6th grade for me because a lot of my friends that I had in 5th grade ended up going to ASMS, so I had basically nobody to be friends with in 6th grade. So I was kind of just alone for most of 6th grade, and then I found some friends, and then I got better, but I would say 6th grade was the worst year.
Yeah. 6th grade was like very drama filled with lots of friends and stuff, but 7th grade was more of like a me thing about like
How so?
figuring stuff out. I don't know. I had a horrible haircut and like all that. You guys can confirm,
I did too.
but it was just like a time for personal growth for me, not so much friendships.
That wraps up everything. I appreciate you guys coming and sharing your experiences with me. During this episode, we learned the reality of middle school and the hardships that are faced during these years. Also, how to get over those hardships. Thank you for everyone listening in and watching. See you next time.